Alright, Shalom, this is Chanaf Anban Yashar Allah from the GMS Lionston Camp. First and foremost, I'd like to say Kah Halayim, like Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Havrakak Ma'amah, double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Arkin that are pushing this truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. Alright, coming with I'm gonna go through a couple of articles today on this lesson. I might not bring out very many scriptures, if any at all, but just going through the things that's going on in the news. A lot of heavy things going on. Alright, the first one I want to go into is 8 die as polar vortex brings life-threatening temperatures to the U.S. Midwest. Alright, frostbite and lung damage are among the dangers facing Americans as a polar vortex brings extreme cold to much of the country. All right, and I live down here in Florida, and it's been extremely cold down here. Unusually cold, not that it normally doesn't get this cold, as it's been. But like in Chicago and other parts of the Midwest, it's like extremely cold. People are freezing to death. Homeless people are freezing to death on the streets. It's the judgment of the Most High, man. All right, it's the judgment of the Most High. All right, He's sending these plagues around the world, man. All right, it says at least 8 people have died as life-threatening conditions colder than Antarctica in some areas hit America's midwestern states. In Minnesota, where temperatures could drop as low as negative 70 degrees Celsius, negative 94 Fahrenheit, because of the wind chill, the local National Weather Service office tweeted an ominous warning. All right, it says these are very dangerous conditions and could lead to frostbite on exposed skin in as little as 5 minutes, where wind chill values are below 50 degrees, negative 50 degrees Celsius and negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Best thing you can do is limit your time outside the office. The office said. The NWS also tweeted in an image showing the wind chill forecast with large swaths of white over the Midwest, showing the areas predicted to dip below negative 50. All right, it says the weather office in Des Moines, Iowa, urges residents to protect your lungs from severely cold air, avoid taking deep breaths, minimize talking. It's so cold, they're telling you not to talk. That's how serious it is up there. It says authorities say at least 8 people have so far died due to the extreme weather since Saturday. All right. It says they include a man hit by a snow plunge in the Chicago area, a couple whose SUV crashed in northern Indiana, and a Milwaukee man frozen to death in a garage, and an 82-year-old man who died of exposure after falling trying to get into his home. Wow. It says in Detroit, a 70-year-old man was found dead on Wednesday on a residential street, and the body of a former councilman for the city of across Michigan was found outside his house, clothed only in his pajamas. He probably walked outside to get a paper and couldn't even make it back in the door. That's judgment from the Most High, man. All right. It says the University of Iowa has said the death on campus of a student, Gerald Bells, appears to be weather related. Wow. All right. Wow. It says the worst of the weather is expected across the Midwest, so the worst hasn't even gotten here yet. Especially in Chicago, Illinois, the Chicago River has frozen over with large chunks of ice floating through the city's sections of river. All right, it says more than 1,600 flights were canceled at Chicago's airport on Wednesday, including 1,300 at O'Hare International, one of America's busiest. All right, it says businesses, government offices, and schools also closed in the city, America's third largest, along with the major attractions like the Lincoln Park Zoo, Art Institute of Chicago, and Field Museum. These are actually a public health risk, and you need to treat it appropriately, Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel said. All right, it said there are life-threatening conditions and temperatures. All right, let me play this real quick. Showing the ship going through the ice in Chicago
For the
River.
people. It means being everywhere for everyone.
All right, ragged ass commercial, but as you can see, wow, the ship having to plow through ice in the Chicago River. This is happening right here in America. This is not Antarctica. All right, it says the current freeze will not be limited to a few unlucky regions. However, as around 212 million or 72% of Americans will experience below freezing temperatures over the next few days. And we have temperatures close to where I am below freezing, close to it, or we're at freezing. It says, and more than 83 million Americans, or about 25% of the U.S. population, will suffer sub-zero temperatures, sometimes between Wednesday and Monday. Authorities of Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin put emergency measures in place to handle the severe cold. All right, and that's crazy because you already have on the 15th of February, Trump gonna, if he doesn't get his funding for his wall, he's gonna announce a state of emergency. All right, so you have all these things that's going on right now, man. This is all prophetic, man. It's the Lord putting judgment on this place, man. All right, let me go to another article. All right, this is an article from last year. Earlier this month. All right, speaking on the government shutdown, which is gonna. All right, the government's back up and running until like what, the 21st of February, and so, or 15th. I'm not sure which day it is, but it's also talking about Trump going to declare a national emergency. All right, if he doesn't get the money to funding for his wall. It says Trump may declare a national emergency in the border wall. Here's what that means. All right, it says President Trump spent the week visiting the U.S.-Mexico border and hinting he might declare a national emergency to build his long-discussed wall on Friday. All right, like I said, this is an old article. January 12th, this came out. All right, but you had this resurfacing again. I'm going to get another article talking about the resurfacing. I just wanted to bring this one out first. It says he put the idea on hold, strongly counseling congressional Democrats to rethink opposing the wall's funding. All right, it says what we are not looking to do right now is national emergency. He said Friday afternoon, I am not going to do it so fast. It says despite the temporary reprieve to partial government shutdown drags on. It says for Trump, the issue is twofold. According to Gerald S. Dickinson, all right, assistant professor at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law, it says, to what extent is illegal immigration a national crisis? And is it unusual for extraordinary or for individuals to come across the southern border? It says, we've been dealing with this for many years through congressional and legislative processes. All right, Trump is using this power as an alternative lever to achieve a policy goal he can't reach through Congress, he said. All right, so basically, and all this is about just him trying to keep so-called Mexicans out of really their own land, because Mexico used to reach all the way up to what I want to say, damn near Canada at one point in time before the settlers came, before the Europeans came and took the land from the Native Americans and the Mexicans, which are our brothers. All right, it says, so what is in a national emergency, and what does it mean for Trump's border wall? It says in 1976, Congress passed the National Emergency Act, which permits the president to pronounce a national emergency when he considers it appropriate. All right, it says that the act offers no specific definition of emergency and allows the president to declare one entirely at his or her discretion. All right, it says it has historically been invoked during the unusual or extraordinary threats to the United States, according to Dickinson, like in response to the threat of North Korean nuclear warfare or amid the 1979 Iran hostage crisis. It says, by declaring a national emergency, the president avails himself of dozens of specialized laws. Some of these powers have funds he otherwise cannot access. All right, that's the whole point of him doing it, so he can access some funds to build his wall. All right, it says under current law, emergency powers lapse within a year unless the president renews them. A national emergency can be redeclared indefinitely, and in practice is done frequently. There have been 58 pronounced under the National Emergencies Act, and which 31 are still in effect. All right. So basically, he's going to try to call a state of emergency, a national emergency, um, if he doesn't get what he wants by the 15th, which this could mean a lot of things. It all depends on how severe the national emergency is. All right. All right, and this is another article I have. It says, um, Republicans give Trump the green light for a border wall emergency declarations. All right, so nobody's holding back against him for him setting a national emergency to get funding for his wall. Now, with that national emergency, it can bring forth a lot of other things. All right, if he makes it too severe, it could bring forth martial law, and it could withhold any election. So it would turn that from a so-called democracy or democracy to a dictatorship. All right, this is how severe it can go, and this could be the launching of the R5D chip, because Trump also said that he wants to take the dollar back to a gold standard. All right, it says congressional Republicans don't love the idea of President Trump declaring a national emergency to secure funding for his border wall, but GOP lawmakers on both sides of the Capitol signaled they wouldn't do anything to try and stop or shame him. It said during the month-long government shutdown, Trump dangled the possibility he would bypass Congress to get 5.7 billion for the wall by declaring an emergency, which would open up special sources of funds for executive branches. Right, with the shutdown now over, Congress has until February 15th, when the current government spending bill expires, to reach a deal on border security. If lawmakers fail, or if they come up with a package he doesn't like, Trump has said once again that he will declare an emergency in order to free up the resources to begin border wall construction. All right, some Republicans have openly fretted about what such a declaration would mean in a long term. Senator Marco Rubio said the move would establish a precedent that would make it easier for a future Democratic president to enable aggressive actions on climate change, for example. It says many Republican lawmakers hinted that they've lived with the declaration rather than raise a stink over it. I'm not recommending it. It's not my preference choice, said Senator John Kennedy. It says, but I unlike some of my colleagues, don't believe it'll be the end of Western or order if it does it. All right. So basically, they're not going to enjoy. They're not going to object to Trump um, putting a national emergency status on the United States for him to get the funding for his wall, man. So you just see like the whole nation of America, the United States, is in a muck. All right, it's slowly falling, and the fact that you're gonna have this happen, and then Trump just recently said he wants to go to a gold standard. All right, basically getting rid of the feds. That's the introduction of the RFID chip, right there. All right. So that's about it that I have on that. Just wanted to bring out a couple articles about the things that's going on, man. So it's getting closer and closer to our salvation. We're almost out of here. You see Esau being divided within himself, and the scriptures say, if a house be divided within itself, it cannot stand. So you're seeing the fall of America. With that being said, I want to say, Kal Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakakwadash Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and salutation to the Arkin that are pushing the truth and sincerity and truth, and peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Shalom.